Okay, so welcome everyone to Gender Equality Part 3 with Archangel Gabrielle. And it is July the 6th, 2022. And these channelings that we've been studying have been from 2014. This one's from 2016. And it's fascinating what she has to say. And it's very relevant for right now. And she actually goes into how there would be progress to 2024. And Steve, when you heard 2024, you were not excited. So we're almost at 2024. But just to get us started, I found we don't have the recordings for these specific channelings, but I did find one with Archangel Gabrielle speaking, and it's she talks about gender equality. So I thought we would listen to her so you get a really good sense of what she sounds like and what a force she is. She is a mighty archangel. Okay, so here we go. I've got it all keyed up. Okay, I didn't realize this was going to do this. It's going to come in a little bit late.
I am honored, pleased, delighted that you invite me this day. But as messenger, let me suggest to each and every one of your brilliant star souls, your angelic selves, your universal self, your higher self, your eternal self. Beloveds, you are in the throes of ascension. You are already deeply engaged and spiritually matured in this process, not only of fulfilling your missions and purposes, but fulfilling the dream of the mother to come forth, to be the implementers of her plan, to anchor and re-anchor and practice and shift into the love. That is ascension. Yes, we know we talk about love ad nauseum, but it is our favorite topic. Let me reassure you. Yes, you are like the unfoldment of something between a good novel and a spy thriller. And will there be new chapters, next chapters, more unfoldment? Yeah. But you will be in the fulfillment of what you are bringing forth, creating over earth in these future years. But you are preparing for the shift and the immediacy of this shift right now. And I mean right now in your terms and the mother's terms. Now let us turn to this topic. Do you note that I speak as Gabrielle, Gabrielle, and that I choose? Yes, of course there is a choice. But amongst the mighty ones, I choose and I present as the mother's central administrator to speak to you in what you can think of as the feminine, holding, presenting, sharing the energy of the divine feminine, never and not to the exclusion of the divine masculine. But if you think of it, even in the context of our lovely discussion this day, which is very difficult, the power, the grace, yes, the purity and clarity comes forth from the feminine. And it is the rebalancing, the re-anchoring of all of these discordant, aberrant energies that we discuss this day. Now I speak to you, yes, in ways you know and understand. But let us, the prelude to the discussion of gender inequality, refers back to and is founded upon, yes, those old demons, false grids, false paradigms, illusions, and might we call it delusions. That abuse of authority, control, lack, limitation, the usurping of power in the human realm because it is not divine. And it is all, of course, refers back to a feeling of supremacy, which is in truth based in the lack of peace, the lack of love, and the lack of self-worth, the lack of any kind of feelings of self-sufficiency, the desire. Think of what I say. And yes, this is very dark, but it is the desire to harm, to destroy in the most negative senses, to control, not in ways that are simply egoic assertions at a moment in time, but consistently and profoundly. This is a very strong example of what went wrong with the human race. The fear and the anger that covers that fear of men, and we use it in that term of humans, but particularly of the male gender, not just defined by sexual organs. The fear that men have of women, of the deep-rooted societal, cultural, institutional, unconscious fear of that power has resulted in separation, all the things that I have referred to. And then the result of those states of being, far beyond even recalcitrance, results in these various abuses. And let me be clear, there is no such thing as mild abuse. Yes, there is anathema in many countries and in many practices in the name of society or religion or power. But any abuse is unacceptable because it is not only the truth of the mother, father one. It is not the truth of who humans are. It's not the truth. Now, we have just spoken of what comes to completion over this span of right now to the 2025, in fact, 2024. It is malleable. This is a challenge. Because even in the practices that we are going to discuss, there are still those, shall we say, in the mix of humanity that will choose to go through and who are obviously right now being penetrated by the mother tsunami and all the other energies that are being sent to the planet. They will choose ascension. They will not choose to depart. But in terms of integration, in terms of re-education, in terms of remedy, there is a great deal of work to be done. And not only on the perpetrator side, but on the victim side as well. Yes, we do call them victims. Not to demean or belittle in any way. But when you have been enslaved, then there is a need for this rewiring, this reworking, both internally, of course, but also externally in the structures and the attitudes and the provisions that in fact support that transition, that allow you the latitude and the courage to feel that you have the right to move forward in safety and security. Very basics.
Okay. So she's, what I'll do is I'll post that for when I post the recording, if you would like to continue on and listen to that. But I think she gave us the basics there. So let me share screen now and we'll get into the slideshow. Okay, oopsie, go back one. Okay, so this is gender equality with Archangel Gabrielle. Let me just go forward here. Yeah, this one's from 2014. So that one that we just listened to was from 2016, actually. Okay, so I did include a quote at the beginning of this. So this topic of gender inequality and the crucial pivotal importance of gender equality, of gender love is so critical to the other areas that we embrace and speak of as we bring humanity to this place of balance. And she goes more into this in this channeling. And as always, these channelings are through Linda Dillon, who is the channel for the Council of Love, and Archangel Gabrielle. Always the different beings sound different through Linda. This is a testament to her ability as a channel. It's amazing. Okay, so from Archangel Gabrielle, greetings. I am Gabriel. I am Gabrielle. And how is that for the balance of the masculine, feminine? This topic of gender inequality and the crucial pivotal importance of gender equality, of gender love, is so critical to the other areas that we embrace and speak of as we bring humanity to this place of balance. And I include the tri-flame within the heart because all this information, when we sit still and contemplate the tri-flame, is embedded in the tri-flame. The basic principles of gender equality are embedded within the tri-flame. So we all carry masculine and feminine attributes, no matter what form we have taken. And she continues, I've spoken to you and I've spoken to your hearts and to your minds and to your beings about the backdrop, about the mother's intent in creation and having this wondrous gift of gender differentiation, and also finding that balance within you and within your community and your community called Gaia. Why do we speak more fully about this topic of gender inequality and quality? quality, not equality, because the qualities of the divine masculine, of the human masculine, of your star brothers and sisters masculine, of the archangels masculine, and the divine feminine in all realms and dimensions leads to and results in the dissipation, elimination, course correction in so many other areas of inequality. When there is the incorporation, and I mean in the heart consciousness, in the mental body, in the emotional body, in your expanded field, through the gift of the mother's clarity, you are all seeing with a new set of eyes, with a deeper sense of knowing, of truly knowing what is transpiring around you. And you are translating that into the ability to take actions that are meaningful, based on love, on truth, on fairness, and on an embrace of the wondrous nature of your beings. So when she talks about the eyes, that's the third and the fourth eye opening. So we see as the higher realms see. And then she says, based on love, on truth, on fairness, love, truth of the silver of the tri-flame, and fairness of the divine masculine, and the embrace of the wondrous nature of your being is the pink in the middle. So she's talking about the tri-flame there, and our third and fourth eyes opening. And here she says, and this is what she said in the channeling that we just listened to, let me be clear, there's no such thing as mild abuse. And I'm beginning to see, she showed me today, it's not forgiving self as well. So it's not just mild abuse that happens to others, but the mild abuse that we hold for ourselves unconsciously, that we're not even realizing what we're doing. So it's good to, I was thinking mild abuse from others, but it's really the mild, it can be the mild abuse we're still giving to ourselves if we feel unforgivable about something, or we're carrying shame or guilt, or, you know, the false crits. Yes, there is an anathema in many countries and in many practices in the name of society or religion or power, but any abuse is unacceptable, because it is not only not the truth of the Mother, Father, One, it is not the truth of who humans are. It is not the truth. So karmic dispensation has been granted to us, and that's the knowing that everything is forgiven, no matter what has happened here. So it's a good practice. If emotions come up where you're feeling shame or guilt, just to really turn it around, see how it's connected to the past, and do the deeper forgiveness work and compassion, the non-judgment, come to gratitude for the awareness. Okay. So, and here, when we're open to receive everything, keep your crowns wide open to receive the information from the higher realms, we create balance within. And as Archangel Uriel says, do not underestimate when you stay in that place of centered awareness. So that's the pink flame and the silver in the heart tri-flame of knowing. That knowing is silver. That's the silver piece in the pink. Not wobbling back and forth in uncertainty, resentment, lack of self-love, both self-worth and self-love. You are doing so for many. So our fields are expanding, and we're literally holding this place of balance for the collective. When this notion of balance of the masculine and the feminine in society, not only within your sacred self, but within nations, within societies, within social structures, political structures, financial structures, because the gender inequality affects every aspect of life. When that notion is truly anchored and present, then the other areas of inequality begin to fall away as well. We have all spoken to you about the domino effect, and this is another example of those dominoes. There are many rows, and many of them are falling exactly at the same time and with greater and greater rapidity. During the past week, I've been with you in ways that you may or may not have perceived. So this is Archangel Gabrielle, and she's probably been with each of us. I know she's been with me. Not all of you have this channel's loving connection or familiarity with my energy and my love, with my mission and purpose in service to the mother. As I've said to thee, I am central administrator of this and many universes. Now, how can I, as the administrator of the mother's plan, as her manager, as it were, how can I do this undertaking if there are feelings and actions and situations of inequality? So this, dear hearts, is not only a subject, but a situation that is very near and dear to my heart. Okay, I've taken my energy, what you think of as time and space in this past week, and I've been with each of you, millions and millions of you, and I've been penetrating, infusing, not invading, but infusing your hearts with my gentle golden radiance and with my scales to assist in this balancing of the masculine and the feminine. So Sanat Kumara has a set of golden scales. Archangel Gabrielle has one too. And it's all about balance, 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 balance. I have been doing this with each of you individually, and I've been doing this in areas, countries, environments where this is very urgent in terms of adjusting, redefining, rebalancing energies in order that your ascension go forth. There is much underway, but do not think, my beloved ones, that somehow your process of ascension has taken a back or distant seat. It has not, so I merely mention this because you may have been feeling it. Some of this welling up of emotion has to do with course correction, but it also has to do with the release of human suffering. Now, gender inequality has led to deep, pervasive scars and human suffering, and it is your weariness with this that is the sign that all of you collectively and individually are willing to let go of this idea that pain has golden value. Many of you have been feeling these emotional troughs, have accessed ancient injuries, but also injuries of this lifetime, inequalities of this lifetime. But you're also doing this, my beloved way showers, my pillars, my gatekeepers. You are doing this for the collective. So it's been ongoing the past 8 years, with so much coming to the surface. I always say the protesting is a good outlet for people, for the wake up of many, and for the energy to have a voice. And that has been happening for the last 5-6 years now, a lot of protesting to help create the balance, for the balance work to begin and just keep working for humanity. The time of subjugation is coming to an end, and in some areas that is a mild adjustment, but in many areas of Gaia, of your beloved planet, it is radical adjustment. It is radical adjustment, not only for what you think of as the male portion of the population, it is radical awakening for women as well. And it is a radical awakening even for women who have been demanding and working for this equality. Gender inequality is very seductive and pervasive. And even those of you who have been tirelessly working for freedom have still been inculcated with the evidence, behaviors, systems, structures, and messages that they are less than, that they are dangerous. So even those who are cutting edge, when they realize that the freedom is at hand, are going through a massive emotional and mental adjustment. It is a spiritual awakening on a massive scale. So it is not coincidence, dear Steve, that you've chosen or that your team has chosen to address this subject in a variety of arenas at this time. It is part of the plan. It is part of the design, and we are happy not only to discuss it, but to very practically assist. Okay, then Steve asked a question about the subject of honor killings, dowry deaths, acid attacks that happen when a man approaches a woman. She rebuffs that approach and he throws acid in her face and ruins her physical features for life. These are very real things happening around the world, South Asia, the Middle East, even in Canada. In the last couple of days, I found a post in Toronto that this has happened. They're justified on the basis of religious rules, family honor, cultural mores. A lot of damage is being done to women. What can be done? Is it justified to say that a family has honor and therefore can kill their daughter? So now Archangel Gabriel says, now let me begin. And now you are going to encounter the outspoken Archangel. There can be no justification. I know that you, my beloved friend, know this. I know that the listeners know this, but there is no justification. It is violence. It is hatred. There is no honor in murder or defacement or punishment. Murder and the killing of a person's spirit are amongst the most vile. It is the treatment of women. I will not say it's chattel because not everyone will understand. It is the treatment of women, daughters, sisters, and even mothers as property. It is the male believing, obviously incorrectly, outrageously incorrectly, that they have the divine right to direct and control and decide the fate of any being. And when they abhor or abuse and destroy and harm women, do not minimize this. Let me be emphatic in this. You are throwing acid in the face of the Divine Mother, and you're acting as a murderer, as a thief of life, as a thief of spirit, and there are no excuses. This is the same as those who wage war for political right or the name of religious right, only in this case, it is making the woman subhuman. It is pretending in some egoic reality that somehow God has created man as master and women as something that is innate, inanimate, and has no life force or soul. The biggest mercy is the killing, and that is sacrilege. I do not talk about religion. I do not talk about what is the mores of a society. You, and I speak to you, the people of Earth, you have been initiated and welcomed into an intergalactic community. You're being asked to step forward as star beings, as angelics, but most importantly, as freed beings of the human race. You cannot do so and behave in such a manner. I understand what you say, that it is difficult to comment on the customs and the mores of another culture or political system, but you are not nationals, you are globals. You are planetary and interplanetary, and if you do not speak, that silence echoes throughout the universe, and it is taken as agreement and assent, and we know that is not what is in your hearts. So what can you do? You are globals, you are of one race of humanity, you are not several collectives. Try as you might, the divisions have been built and they don't work. So in declaring yourselves as one race of humanity, you go forth in breaking down these cultural differences. Our beloved angel, Stephen Cook, had the right idea when he began his message in 2014, when he employed the leadership and the people of Gaia, of Earth, to tell the truth. It seems like an entreaty to the political leaders, but it is also an entreaty to each and every person who is aware of such atrocities. What can you do? Speak out with your heart, with your wit, with your intelligence, with your voice, with your human collective voice. It is important. And literally you can talk to the collective, etherically, higher self to the collective. That's one way to do it. Well, as I tell you, we on this side, and you often wonder, what is the company of heaven up to? Well, this is an area that we are very involved in because it is one of the linchpins. How can the mother's plan fertilize and move from what you think of as the father? How does that plan unfold when the divine feminine and the actual feminine are disrespected and discarded, hidden? The beauty of men and women is to be seen, enjoyed, marveled at, celebrated. And yes, now I speak to the custom of hiding oneself, burqas, of treating women as if they are a temptress, as an occasion of sin, and therefore must be hidden. It is hiding what has been birthed from the heart of the mother. We wish you to put all men and all women who would agree with such behaviors in what we call a form of containment. So this is an exercise I remember doing well past 2014. And then in that we're seeing it again in 2022. We can still do this. And what it does is it helps with our own clarity. So Now, this is not the same level or type of containment that has been put in place primarily by the Mother and Archangel Michael, but let us put them in a containment, a container of the Mother's clarity of blue topaz, and let the floor and the lid be the clear white of her purity. So it's a giant blue container, and you can etherically see it above earth or close by your house, and just be gathering beings up, and including ourselves, because the insidious belief systems of gender inequality are just that, they're insidious. And so yeah, the more clarity we have around gender inequality, it helps the whole. Yes, we know it will hold millions, and let us do this right now as we speak, as we do this with you, with the citizens of Earth, that this issue of hatred, it is not protection, it is not honor, it is hatred. And it is the feeling of lack of self-worth, and on the part of those who would hold these beliefs or follow these practices, put these practices into form and action. Let us gather these, what we will call lost souls, and hold them in the Mother's blue topaz of her gift of clarity, so that they may see. I offer you our help to do this. So I put a big eye, all-seeing eye, and then the planet within the eyeball, and the color is topaz. So topaz is one of the colors of clarity. Silver is another color of clarity. Purity, the white purity, is when we are loving who we perceive as our opponent. So no matter what we're dealing with on the planet, we are here for us to ascend together. So just knowing that and doing this work with the topaz box can heighten our clarity for ascension. So there it is. I remember making this meme, not with the eye though. I didn't have the eye in the middle. Now I see more clearly that it's really our clarity that we are enhancing. So that giant topaz box with the purity floor and ceiling. Yeah, just place the beings that we feel and see acting out of alignment in this box. It's quite miraculous what happens. Okay, and then Steve asked about 3 types of rape, and he explained them, which I didn't remember this, so it's just a good review. Judicial rape, when a local council or yurga sentences a woman to be raped for some ostensible offense, and this is still going on to this day, I believe. Custodial rape, when a woman finds herself in jail or in prison and the confining officers rape the inmates. That happens in North America as well as around the world. Mass rape, when soldiers, especially in the Democratic Republic of Congo, when they are victorious in some kind of action, they rape many of the women in the area. Now, I know this is still going on in the Congo. I met a young fellow that escaped from there not too long ago, and he says it's still going on. So Archangel Gabrielle says, rape, again, is the violence and the hatred and the feeling on the part of the rapist of such entitlement. It is acid in the face, and it is not merely the penetration, the violence of the actual act of sexual encounter, because these rapes, not usually, always, are accompanied by terror, by pain, denigration, suffering, often mutilation, bruises, broken bones, cuts, tears, internal and external. This happens more than people think, and it is good, it is right, and it is just that you are bringing this topic forward, because of course they are to be included. We can raise up these victims into the topaz box as well, and because they're the ones that are suffering as well. And many of these victims of rape of all types are permanently scarred, certainly emotionally scarred, but spiritually scarred. Often there's a loss of faith and a loss of hope. The desire to continue on is often eradicated. Many end up taking their lives, or they simply allow themselves to succumb to disease. So it is yet another form of killing. simply because the person, the woman, is not seen, is not comprehended, not viewed as whole, as worthy, as having the same worth as the man. There is a both legitimized and not forgiveness of such atrocities that it was deserving, that the male could not help themselves, that they could not control their lust, that it was simply bloodthirst. None of this is what Nova Earth and Nova Being looks like. Divine partnership and the entry into sacred union with another, where the fullness of spirit and co-creation and the totality of your being can be engaged with partnership. When you look at that, which is the Nova Being, and then you look at these situations of rape, which far too often go unheeded, they are not compatible. So yes, let us gather all these men and injured women into our container of clarity and love. And then Steve asked about boy preference, infanticide of girl babies, selective abortion, forced marriage. The latter doesn't involve death, except the spiritual death of the person who's forced to marry somebody they don't love, forced sterilization, female genital mutilation, and the requirement to wear a burqa. And Archangel Gabriel said, but the infanticide, selective abortion is death. The number of sweet angels who have chosen to come to earth during this time of miraculous change and who have either been aborted, strangled, drowned, buried, killed is far greater than what you think of as known numbers. And the toll, not only on the sweet angel who basically turns around and comes home, but the toll that this takes on the woman and on the family. So it not only kills the baby, it kills the family. Again, it reinforces the message, the belief, the practice that women are not equally valued, precious, seen as whole in the eyes of one. So it's subtle, and this is how the illusion has grown. It is similar to genital mutilation that says that women do not deserve to have pleasure from sexual intimacy, that they are less than, that they are simply receptacles. This could go on, because then it moves to the lack of care of pregnant women and the lack of care, particularly of female children and infants. All of this, the covering with the burqa, it is more than disrespect. It is greater. It is basic hatred. I use strong language because strong language is required. It is not adequate to simply know and to be abhorred by that such practices exist on the other side of the planet. You are citizens of Gaia. You are planetary beings responsible for the collective. None of this is of love. When you have said, how shall I proceed? How do I know that I am on track? How do I know which area to proceed in that is for my highest good? And we say to thee, does it feel like joy? Does it feel like love? If it does not feel like love, if it does not feel like joy, then do not do it. Well, now we address this in very serious global ways. None of this can ever in any reality, even the old third, be seen as kind or loving or joyous, not for the perpetrator or the victim. So what would be the best way to address this, Steve asks? To hold some kind of global day or protest, to begin an organization, petitions? What is the most efficacious, along with your containment, which of course is probably very efficacious, and the best way to approach it? What can we be doing? So Archangel Gabriel says, yes, but it is important, of course. The human race participates in this containment. And every time you see a situation or think of a situation, simply see that you're putting this collective in your arms and putting them in this wondrous container. But it is important for the humans to act and to be present on many fronts. Information and education are key. And when we speak of education, we are not merely speaking of education in terms of fact and factoids. We are not talking about education in terms of having films or information that are so abhorrent that people turn and run away. It is walking the middle ground, and it is teaching men and women of their worthiness, of the sacred nature. So of course, it begins with us just understanding this balance within, and then everywhere we go, we're walking that middle ground and helping people feel the worthiness that we're exuding, the self-love and the self-worth. And also, it doesn't have to be words. Our fields do the talking. So whenever you engage with someone, it can be just normal little conversation. But if we consciously worked on our own balance within, then our field communicates that to every field that we meet, every person that we meet. Okay, and Archangel Gabriel says, you're not merely a body. We know that you who listen to us know this, but all of these incidents, the maltreatment of women, simply is treatment of a body that is disposable or interchangeable, and none of you are that. It is the growing and the paying attention to self-worth and the worthiness of each and every being. So it is approaching this on a multifaceted basis. It is holding these symposiums, these forums, these international days of support, of recognition, of education, so that the women of other nations know that they are supported, and that the men know that their atrocities and their mistreatment is not accepted on a global basis. We are talking about a global approach. Your United Nations has made efforts, but they have been dismally absent, ineffective in rectifying this situation. So now it is time for the people of Earth, for each of you to say, no, it is not acceptable for people to be raped in jail. It is not acceptable to have the victors of violence and mayhem have the right to rape and pillage women and children, by the way. It is not acceptable that women be killed. It is not acceptable that men be killed. And then Steve asks, is the human rights literature for gender equality reliable? And Archangel Gabriel said, is it completely reliable? No. Is it a starting point? Yes. And Steve, what would we need to watch for in using it? And Archangel Gabriel says, simply know and magnify what is reported at least tenfold, and that they are misreporting. Are they misreporting what goes on in their own countries? They tend to overlook what goes on the home front. And that is why we say, for example, the situation of rape in prison is not restricted to countries outside the West. So Steve says yes, and in the West now we have private prisons. I'm sure that leads to far more of these kinds of crimes. Yes, it does. So it is the hue and cry that you are spearheading. When Michael, your beloved brother, has said to you that you are a communicator, and that it is to communicate a new way of being upon this planet, a new way of being human. This is part of what this talks about. There cannot be freedom and equality for some, just as there cannot be food and water for some and not others. It is freedom for all, beloved, and we are with you. Okay, so you can see peace, the color of peace is blue. So this topaz box is light blue. So it's all about creating peace from the inside out, and then that extending out to the collective. And this Serapis Bey came through with a definition of peace, and he called it freedom from all fear, harmony with all, safety within and without, the fulfillment of our divinity, balance in all things and all realms. And it begins individually within, really understanding karmic dispensation too. Forgiveness of everything creates peace. And karmic dispensation is the knowing that everything is forgiven. Okay, so then when all our chakras and the information, when we understand the information embedded within the 13 chakra system, and even higher, there's more than 13, that helps with our internal balance. And then of course, balancing the tri-flame, which is the mother, the father, the one, the heart of one within our heart center. Just understanding that balance, we change everything on the planet. Starts within, starts individually. Okay, so there we go. That's that. So let's come out of this and back to, there we go. Okay, wow. That was a lot of information. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, Steve, thank you very much for asking all those questions. They're most valuable, really are.
Thank you.
Very much needed. And thank you, Kathleen, for putting it all together.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, no, I mean, Steve did this 8 years ago. It's amazing. Yeah. And that like, it's taken me this long to be able to put things like this together. Like, even like a year ago when I heard the call that I could do something like this, it felt like a huge step. Mhm. Yeah.
I, along with every other refugee adjudicator, used the human rights literature from the Department of State and the United Kingdom Immigration Directorate and all this kind of thing. And it wasn't till years after I was out of refugee law that I realized it was all jiggered. It wasn't reliable. What they were saying about what was happening in various countries was designed to give the impression those countries were awful and we're great, right? But it wasn't, a lot of it was not true. And of course, all the refugee adjudicators are back there using the same literature.
So are you saying it's not as bad as it seems then?
Well, not as bad, it's much worse.
Worse, yeah, okay.
No, the United Nations, I hate to call them troops because oftentimes they're mercenaries, but they are doing untold damage around the world. You saw them come to Canada, right? And land in North Bay. Those were allegedly United Nations troops. Of course, they were mercenaries. They were the ones that were beating everybody in Ottawa. Remember the guys in the back with they had military uniforms, but no names and no patches. And those guys were UN troops, mercenaries.
When was it? When did this happen? Was this
Freedom Convoy.
the Freedom in the summer or in the spring?
Mhm.
All right.
So, so I'm interested to hear what she would say about the task of deciding who's a refugee using literature, which has a wobble to it.
Mm.
Yeah, apparently there's a lot of mercenaries in Ukraine as well right now in that battle.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel that as a few people understanding this information and talking to the collective would have, like, even now, like, has the planet moved along in understandings of ascension more than 8 years ago?
Well, the channel literature says yes, we have moved forward, and the shift is internal,
Mhm.
so we don't see it, so
Yeah.
to speak. And only they can say that. I mean, I wouldn't even know what to look for to see whether more of us are ascending or not. I mean, I've asked Michael and I have statistics, but
Right. So
myself wouldn't know what to look for.
part of the understandings of the sixth dimension is from chaos comes change. And we have seen a lot of chaos. We've seen a lot of protesting in the last 5 years. And then we've also had the incredible lockdown of the pandemic to bring people in closer into the heart. And when I explain that in the reading room to people, there's like an aha, because most of them use the lockdown to change course. Most of them that have come in. Mhm. And to greater alignment with their purpose. So I know that when I had my last reading with the Divine Mother through Linda back in 2015, she said, we have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just trust and continue being the observer, watch, and talk to the collective. So we can literally talk to the collective, the higher self of the collective, and raise up groups, that are really being victimized and the perpetrators into that containment for the better of the planet, for the clarity to come through. which I find interesting because I remember working a lot with that box. And what it did was it raised my awareness. Yeah. So maybe that's the part of the whole deal about it too, to raise our own, to balance, for balance, greater balance.
Yeah.
Mhm. Greater clarity of what's really going on and to trust, deeper trust.
Maybe we should do a chant or meditation just for this kind of thing that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Mhm. So on Tuesday, raise up the groups that are really victimized. She did use that word, victim. Yeah,
Yeah,
and the perpetrators.
yeah, yeah.
So that, yeah, and that could be where the rape is happening, but where all war is happening. Because it is not of love, it is hatred.
Yeah.
And that's what's been so interesting about what I've been going through lately. She says there's no such thing as mild abuse. So you can stay in a relationship where there's, abuse happening, or you can, draw attention to it, then ask for change. And if change doesn't happen, and that's what's happened with my daughter, it's like, no more, out you come. So it's a really interesting time to be alive and to be helping with the change, like literally seeing it and then doing something about it. So, but we do it every day, no matter where you go, no matter who you talk to or what you're doing, you're sending out balance. So I think that's the most important thing, each of us. Just even discussing this and understanding the tri-flame in the heart. And then any old belief systems that come up, we're, knowing there's karmic dispensation.
We talk about balance for a wee bit because I'm not sure that we necessarily understand the reason for balance. Can you talk about what the reason is that Gabrielle emphasizes balance and everybody else does? What's the secret about balance?
Gender equality within. So you carry the masculine flame and the feminine. You want to be in love with both of them. Even though you're emanating masculine, you're in the masculine form, your feminine blue flame is equal to your masculine golden flame. And then when they're equal, there's a alchemical reaction that creates the green love. The blue and the yellow creates green. And that's the oneness, knowing that we are one on this planet. That they're, we're here to love our opponents so that we're not in any kind of hatred of self within. Therefore, there's no hatred of anyone without.
And then it's important to have that pink flame in there as well, to include yourself in that balance in the triangle.
Yeah, the pink. And it's, yeah, and I remember in that meditation that we did, it's not like pink, it's kind of red pink. And red is a color of compassion. So that's the place of non-judgment of everything. So we're standing back being the observer, no matter how we feel about self or another in the external. So we really want to get to that balance of non-judgment, of compassion within self to create that on the planet. And that way the systems change. The law system can change because the law system is based on control and punishment. And who have we been really good at controlling and punishing? Within. We're the best. We're masters at being judgmental of self. So it's obvious that's how it got created without. Look at the prison system. Control and punishment. You're bad, off you go.
Well, we've been practicing it for a few thousand years now too. So, we kind of got into it.
Yeah, exactly. So now's the time, of course, correction, but it starts within, really getting it within, that awareness within. so that we're not in any kind of physical pain. That balance is there because all pain is human created. In the higher realms, there is no pain and suffering. It's perfect balance of the masculine, the feminine, and the self. So the masculine and the feminine are attributes. The divine masculine has certain attributes and the divine feminine has certain attributes. And we just want to be aware of both. And that was in the last slideshow we did. Aware of both and just be in love with both.
In fact, your whole self, all of you, not just half of you.
Yeah, both sides. Yeah, the masculine and the feminine to create the oneness. Yeah. Yeah. And then that's why she talks to us about being global citizens.
And that goes with being mother, father, one. Eh?
Yeah, and that we have been invited into the Intergalactic Council. But if we're still, not loving ourselves and understanding our self-worth, I'm not sure what happens.
Well, we got to wait. We can't enter. That's all.
I would think it would be more on a, I don't know how to say this exactly, a cosmic level, but I would think it would be very difficult to communicate with those entities if we weren't balanced.
I agree.
So that's probably where the pitch is.
Yeah, we couldn't raise our vibration to a high enough level to even interact with them,
Well, telepathically, so telepathic communication, we get to practice with our guides. So the more we can understand what our guides are saying to us, that heart communication, it's not really English, it's like heart communication, then that's the communication needed to talk to the star beings, basically. It's heart communication and it's always kind. So the more we're kind to self, that communication with our guides comes through much more easily.
I have a tendency, I don't know what to call it, but whenever you talk about these subjects, to flagellate myself, I first see if I'm doing this, and a lot of times I don't feel anything. So I'm probably not doing it, but it's just that in order, I don't know how to say this, just the guilt shows up. And so I should feel bad, even though it's out there. It's like when doctors are going through training and they learn about a new disease and they think that they've got it, sort of like that.
So one way is as you thank yourself for being aware it's guilt, like really, and if you can see a little bit of humor in it, that you're so aware that it's guilt, you can literally bless yourself because okay, got it, thank you so much. That's it, that's all you need to do. And if you can ask where it came from, like, because it always comes from the past, it usually comes from our parents or our siblings, then you just bless that whole situation. Just, okay, thank you, got it. I know that there's karmic dispensation right now, that everything is forgiven. So all these old belief systems of control, everything is forgiven. And just come back and really thank yourself for being that aware. That's incredible. It's fantastic. And then you become like your own inner cheerleader.
Oh.
And you can see yourself, yoo-hoo, there's another one. So the more you clean up the root where it came from, you're there. And it doesn't really take that much. It doesn't take years and years. It's just being aware. And that topaz box is all about that clarity. It's just blessing yourself for feeling it and just saying, okay, got another one. Like going fishing and you're catching a big one.
In my case, I would have to think it has to do with the fact that I would punish myself, hoping that my parents wouldn't punish me.
Oh, wow. Okay. So can you bless yourself for just getting that? And then bless your parents too? Yeah, because they would have started the whole system. And you chose your parents, so you really wanted to learn this. You dropped yourself in to learn this, because if you dropped yourself into a perfectly loving family, you would not be on this call right now.
That's true.
Yeah. So bless you for going in and learning yet again what doesn't work, so that we could bust the system for good this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And really, really be gratitude for yourself, because it takes a heck of a lot of courage to be here. This is not easy. And that you show up every week to do everything is amazing. You two are incredible. You and Lillian are amazing. You haven't missed. I was the one that missed one. You guys didn't. Really, that is to be so commended. We thank you very, very much.
It's a part of me now. I don't think I could do it without.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You like listening to all of this.
Steve?
Oh,
I'm talking to you.
What? What?
Oh, were you talking to me?
yeah. What did you just said you like coming to these Zooms?
Yeah, it's a part of me. It's like I cannot imagine not doing it.
Oh, awesome. That's fantastic. Well, we want to keep going and going, because it's like, I feel like it's so important. Even if there's just a few of us that show up, I think it's really important, because it goes out to the collective.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just think how many entities are involved here. There's us, and then all our guides and the ones they're connected to. I mean, we got a big group here.
Yeah.
We do. And I right before I was talking to Archangel Gabrielle, she said Ashira comes to these classes. So Ashira is the commander of UFOG, because he's very interested in gender equality and everything that we talk about, because this planet, I mean, it's the first one in line to do this ascension in form, where we're doing the work that we would normally do if we died. We're doing it in physical form while we're alive. We're releasing all the old belief systems. We're just coming to loving ourselves the way when you die, you feel that love of the higher realms. We're doing it in physical form. We're opening ourselves up so much that we feel the flow of love that Steve has talked about many, many, many times.
Plus, we're opening up a new space in space, and the rest of the universe is going to be following us into that space.
Yeah.
Which is why they don't quite get rid of the word third dimension. They talk about the cleaned up third. I mean, we're carrying our third dimensional bodies, so to speak, into this new space. So
Yeah. And
that's never been done before.
yeah, so 12 dimensions are all equal. We don't lose any of them, but we're cleaning up the third. So there's no more old belief systems. So there's no more hatred. There's no more war. There's no more guilt. There's no guilt in the higher realms. There's no control. There's no anxiety. There's no gender inequality.
If people were to experience the love that exists on the higher realms, they'd know immediately why there's no this, there's no that, there's no the other. They're in this love that there's just no room for anything low. It's like the Michelin man, it's pushing everything out. It would just take an experience of the love that exists there. People would get it right away. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
It's so great over there, because of that love.
And then what you find is your purpose just expands and expands, and you can't wait to help Like that's what I've noticed the biggest with me is that I will go into these dark areas of like women that are homeless and just sit there and be with them. That's the biggest change I've seen in myself, that I have no fear. And I will just go and be with these beings that feel so separate. Extreme addiction, no teeth, homeless. It's just like, yeah. So you notice it within yourself that you reach out, or if you're a love holder, you're extending yourself out to the collective even more, like etherically, talking to the higher selves of, the ones that are in great distress. And that I feel like that's what is happening with this group a lot. We're extending ourselves etherically wider and wider and wider.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I find myself, I have a compulsion now to serve. I cannot not do it anymore. I have to do it.
Yeah.
And every day.
Yeah, that's what happens. Absolutely. And same with Steve, all the writing. Steve writes every single day. Like, I don't know how he does that. Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing. All right. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much, you guys. I've got to run because I've got I don't know. One of my daughters is making me dinner tonight.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
Okay, you're welcome. And we'll see you all on Friday, hopefully.
Turn the recording off.
turn the recording off.
Oh, yes, I got to do that. Thank you.